Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 9, B, top of the page, with the words, Ma ya'asu shnei achim be'echad, shera'u be'echad shehari es ha'nefesh. Say that 5 times fast. If this were not to be so, what should 2 brothers and 1 other person do if they saw someone kill another person? If the mere fact that they saw the event invalidates the testimony, then no one can ever be tried for a transgression committed in the presence of relatives. If one may decide whether or not he will be a witness, one of the brothers may join with the 3rd person in warning the potential transgressor and thereafter constitute a pair of valid witnesses. Similarly, the Mishnah is understood as discussing a case in which a betrothed woman is committed adultery, and of the 3 witnesses, 2 were brothers. If one of the brothers refrained from warning her, the remaining 2 witnesses may still testify against her, according to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. In this situation, the case must be tried by 23 judges. According to Rabbi Yossi, the case may be tried by 3 judges, because, with regard to capital law, the 2 brothers invalidate the testimony merely by seeing the event together. V'i ba'yisema kigoin shehitzchu ba'acherim v'lo hitchu ba'edim v'kamifli b'plukta de Rabbi Yossi v'Rabbanon d'tnan Rabbi Yossi omer la'olam eino neherag ad shiyu pi shnei edav matrin bo shneimar al pi shnaim edim. And if you wish, say instead, the Mishnah discusses a case where others warned her and the witnesses themselves did not warn her, and Rabbi Meir and the rabbis disagree with regard to the issue that is the subject of the dispute between Rabbi Yossi and the rabbis. As we learned in the Mishnah Makot 6b, Rabbi Yossi says the defendant is never executed unless the mouths of his 2 witnesses are those who warn him, as it is stated, at the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall he that is to die be put to death. Deuteronomy 17, verse 6. The verse's emphasis on the phrase at the mouth of teaches that the witnesses must issue the warning themselves. Rabbi Meir may agree with Rabbi Yossi that the woman cannot be executed if others gave the warning. Therefore, the trial of the defamer needs only 3 judges, whereas the rabbis in the Mishnah agree with the rabbis in Makot, who disagree with Rabbi Yossi. Since she may be tried for adultery, the case requires 23 judges. V'i ba'iz ema kegoin itach chush bibedikois velo itach chush bechekirois. And if you wish, say, instead, a different explanation. The Mishnah discusses a case where the testimony about the adultery was found to be contradictory with regard to examinations concerning minor details of the incident, but the testimony was not found to be contradictory with regard to the interrogations concerning the time and the place of the incident, which is the primary substance of the testimony. And Rabbi Meir and the rabbis disagree to the issue that is the subject of the dispute between Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and the rabbis. As we learn in a Mishnah 40a, an incident occurred, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai examined the witnesses with regard to the stems of figs as to their color and shape in order to expose a contradiction between the witnesses. When he found a discrepancy in their reports about the figs, he dismissed the testimony. Rabbi Meir adopts this opinion, and therefore a woman cannot be tried for adultery if the witnesses disagree about details like these. The rabbis accept such testimony, and consequently they require a court of 23 judges. Amav Yosef, Hevi Pala Edim Shezinso, Vehevi Ha'av Edim Vehezimum Le'edi Ha'ba'al, Edi Ha'ba'al Nerogin, Vehem Vesham Mamoin. The Gemara discusses scenarios concerning the testimony about a woman's committing adultery and allegations that the husband is guilty of defamation. Rav Yosef says if the husband brought witnesses who testified that his wife committed adultery, and the wife's father brought witnesses, and they testified that the husband's witnesses were conspiring witnesses, then the husband's witnesses are executed, but they or their estates do not pay money. Although their testimony, if accepted, would also have lowered the value of her marriage contract, they do not incur liability based on the principle that if someone commits a transgression that renders him liable to receive more than one punishment, he receives the greater punishment, as commonly with Rabbi B'nai. Okay, Chazar, V'hevia ba'al edim, v'hezimum le'edi ha'av, edi ha'av ne'rogin, u'mishalmin mamoin lo zeh, u'nefashois lo zeh. If the husband came back before his witnesses were executed and brought new witnesses, and they testified that the father's witnesses were conspiring witnesses, the father's witnesses are executed, and they must also pay money to the husband as they attempt to make him liable to pay the fine for defamation. They are not exempt from the payment because the money is for this victim, meaning the husband and their lives are for that set of witnesses who would have been killed, since their liability to receive the death penalty and their financial liability were caused by their offenses against different people. These are deemed separate transgressions, and consequently they do receive both punishments. Ve'amar Rav Yosef says, Ploini ravoi le'oinsoi hu ve'acha mitztach v'nahogoi. And Rav Yosef also says, with regard to distinguishing between the different aspects of a single testimony, if a man testifies that so-and-so sodomized him against his will, and he and another witness may combine as a valid pair of witnesses to kill the defendant for the sin of homosexual sodomy. See Leviticus 18:22. L'rtzoinoi Rasha hu ve'atoira amra al tashis Rasha eid. Rava Omer Adam korav etzel atzmoi ve'in Adam mesim atzmoi Rasha. But if the one who was sodomized testified that the accused sodomized him with his consent, he is testifying that he himself is wicked, having been complicit in the forbidden act. And the Torah said, do not put your hand with a wicked person to be an unrighteous witness. Exodus 23 verse 1. Therefore, the testimony is rejected. Rava says, a person in his own relative and therefore may not testify. A person is his own relative and therefore may not testify himself. Therefore, a person cannot render himself wicked by his own testimony. As a result, he is deemed credible with regard to the sodomizer, but not with regard to himself. He remains a valid witness to convict the sodomizer in combination with another. Amar Rava, and similarly Rava says,